Got a question here. Want to know, how do I study the Bible? Well, it's a fair question, and just like studying anything else, it's important to know what you have before going into it. When people read the Bible, generally they're looking for inspirational quotes or comforting messages or maybe even truth statements about God in order to answer someone who's objecting to it or to properly understand the concept themselves. But the reality is, when they're looking up individual chapters and verses, those were added later just for the sake of citation. They weren't a part of the originals. So when you're reading the Bible, the first and most important thing to do is follow the chronology, understand the genres of literature that you're reading and how they ought to be handled. For example, reading the Psalms, when God says that he will cover you in the shadow of his wings, that's not referring to him as a chicken and us as literal eggs. It's in the poetic section of the Old Testament. Likewise, in the New Testament, when we see these symbolic gestures and significant visions being showed to the Apostle John in Revelation, you don't take that literally because the text literally says a great sign appeared in heaven. So, an eye for detail regarding the genre of literature and the references that are made throughout the text in order to understand their significance would also help. There's a good principle that when it comes to interpreting symbols or understanding legal terms or just analyzing history, the plain sense makes sense. And if you seek another sense, you'll probably believe in nonsense, if you can follow that. Another way to understand this, as far as a guide for studying the Bible, is not just to be sensitive to the genre of literature, but make sure that you take in the whole of the account before coming to conclusions and ending up stopping halfway before an explanation is actually provided. Because in reality, especially when it comes to Old and New Testament references to each other, if it hasn't been explained before, it's about to be. And if it has been explained before, it won't be. If you find yourself missing an explanation, then go to previous pages that may mention the same topic, and you'll find that that clarifies things. It's also worth knowing the history and the time and the culture and the people that we're being spoken to, and you can usually find that when the conversation itself starts, and that isn't always done by referencing individual verses. You want to read whole chapters, sometimes multiple chapters, to get the flow of a full conversation, a historical event, or the significance of it. But it is a very cohesive narrative as far as Jewish history is concerned, as well as theology, our understanding of God. And so in studying the Bible, just keep those things in mind. Keep it plain and simple, recognize references when they show up, and be sensitive to the genre that you're reading. And I think you'll be very productive in your study of the Bible.